You are living in the past. Right now, at this very moment, the present you think you're experiencing has already happened. The world you're seeing, the sounds you're hearing, the sensation of wherever your body is touching a surface, none of it is happening now. It's a recording, a reconstruction of a moment that already passed, assembled by your brain a fraction of a second after the fact, and then handed to you with a convincing label that says, "This is happening live." It isn't. You have never once experienced the actual present moment in your entire life. And the reason why is one of the strangest things science has ever discovered about human consciousness. Let's start with the simple physics of the problem because it begins with a delay you can't avoid. When light bounces off an object and hits your eye, that information has to travel. It gets converted into electrical signals, sent down your optic nerve and processed by your brain, and all of that takes time. Not much, but not zero. By the time you consciously see something, the event is already a little bit in the past. The same is true for every sense. Sound takes time to process. Touch takes even longer because a signal from your toe has to travel all the way up your body to your brain, a much longer journey than a signal from your face. Your brain is receiving reports from your senses that are all slightly old and worse, all arriving at different times because they took different routes and different durations to get there. And this creates a genuine puzzle, one that should break your experience of reality but somehow doesn't. Imagine you clap your hands. The sight of your hands meeting and the sound of the clap reach your brain through completely different systems at completely different speeds. By all rights, you should see the clap and then hear it a beat later, like a badly dubbed movie. When someone speaks to you up close, the movement of their lips and the sound of their voice arrive out of sync. Your senses are a mess of mistimed, delayed signals pouring in at different rates, and yet your experience of the world is not a chaotic, laggy jumble. It's smooth, seamless, perfectly synchronized. Sight and sound line up. Everything feels like it's happening together right now in one unified instant. How? Here is the astonishing answer: your brain waits. It deliberately holds back your conscious experience of the present in order to assemble all these mismatched signals into one coherent, synchronized package before showing it to you. It's like a film editor who receives the video track and the audio track separately at different times and carefully aligns them before releasing the finished movie. Your brain gathers up the delayed sights, the delayed sounds, the delayed touches, sorts out their true timing, stitches them together, and only then delivers the polished result to your awareness. Which means the moment you consciously experience is not the raw present. It's a carefully edited version of a moment that already happened, produced with a built-in time delay to allow for all the editing. Estimates suggest your conscious experience of reality runs a fraction of a second, up to perhaps half a second, behind the actual event. You are always watching a slightly delayed broadcast of your own life. But it gets stranger because your brain doesn't just delay reality. It edits it, rearranges it, and sometimes rewrites the timeline entirely to make the story make sense. There's a bizarre effect that reveals this. In certain experiments, when a light flashes and then something happens, people's brains can actually shift their perception of when the flash occurred, adjusting the past to fit information that arrived afterward. Think about how wild that is. Your brain can take an event, hold it in a kind of buffer, and then, based on what happens next, decide when you consciously experienced it, sometimes placing your awareness of it after something that physically came later. Your sense of now is not a fixed point. It's a construction, editable after the fact, arranged for coherence rather than accuracy. Your brain is willing to lie to you about the order of events if it makes the overall experience smoother. Now consider what this means for the idea of free will, because this is where it gets genuinely disturbing. If your conscious experience is always running a fraction of a second behind reality, then by the time you're aware of deciding to do something, the decision may have already been set in motion beneath your awareness. And in fact, famous experiments have suggested exactly this. Scientists watching people's brain activity found that they could sometimes detect the signature of a decision, the brain preparing to act, before the person reported consciously choosing to act. The unconscious brain seemed to move first, and the feeling of deciding arrived afterward, like an announcement of a choice that had already been made. It raises a haunting possibility that the conscious you, the one who feels in control, might sometimes be more of a narrator than a driver, being informed of decisions a beat after they've already begun, and experiencing the comforting illusion of having made them in real time. Let's step back and take in the full picture, because it completely upends our naive sense of what it's like to be alive. You feel like you're standing at the very front edge of time, riding the crest of the present moment as it unfolds. But you're not. You're sitting slightly behind that edge, receiving a processed, edited, time-delayed reconstruction of a present that has already slipped into the past. Every face you've ever seen, every sunset, every word spoken to you by someone you love, you experienced all of it a fraction of a second after it actually happened. You have spent your entire life living just barely in the past, and you never noticed, because everyone and everything you compare notes with is running on the same delay. The whole of human experience is a synchronized playback, always a half step behind the real world. And maybe the most beautiful part is why your brain does this. It's not a flaw, it's an extraordinary feat of engineering. Your brain sacrifices immediacy, gives up on showing you the raw, instantaneous present, in exchange for something far more valuable, a stable, coherent, unified world that makes sense. It would rather be a little bit late and completely clear than perfectly on time and hopelessly confused. That tiny delay is the price of consciousness itself, the processing time required to turn a storm of chaotic, mistimed signals into the single smooth stream of experience you call reality. The present you'll never quite reach is the cost of a present you can actually understand. So the next time you catch a ball or clap along to music or simply look out at the world and feel yourself firmly planted in this exact instant, remember the truth. That instant is already gone. What you're holding is a recording, lovingly assembled and handed to you by a brain that decided, long before you were born, that a clear view of the recent past was better than a blurry glimpse of the actual now. You are a time traveler after all, forever arriving a half-second late to your own life, and you've never once been anywhere but the past. And if this idea that your brain constructs your reality rather than showing it to you directly is blowing your mind, wait until you hear about the people whose brains construct color, sound, and even flavor completely differently from everyone else, and why we can never truly know if we're seeing the same world. That's the next video. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and thanks for watching.